What's going on, folks? Ted from Immersion here, and I have a very cool bundle to talk to you about today for a whole bunch of awesome stuff for you to use in your 5th edition campaign. We have adventures, we have city and setting guides, we have magic items, archetypes, all sorts of fun stuff. And it all comes in the form of the 2022 Adventure Awaits bundle, which is now available on DriveThruRPG. I'll jump over here and show it to you. Now, you'll actually recognize a lot of the authors here as folks that I've worked with in the past. Now, I will say up front, this is not on the DM's Guild, this is on DriveThruRPG, and part of the reason why it can still be 5th edition. If you're unfamiliar, and I could maybe make a separate video on this, but I've said it before and I'll say it again, I'm not an expert on all things open game license in the SRD, but if you make stuff published on the DM's Guild, it is, you can use full WotC property, but they take a larger cut of your overall profits. It's something like 50% of your profits go to Wizards of the Coast, or DM's Guild or whatever. DriveThruRPG, it is essentially like self-publishing via something like a Kickstarter, where you can use anything that's in the open game license, but you can't use specific things to WotC, but you'll get more money out of it. Obviously, if you go Kickstarter, aside from Kickstarter fees, the profit is your own. DriveThruRPG, there is still a function, a portion of funds taken out by DriveThruRPG, but it's significantly less than it would be from the DM's Guild. So it is currently, as of looking right now, this bundle, all the things inside it are worth about $32. You'll be able to get the bundle today for $14.13. And there is, 6 or 7 different options for you of what to get. I have all of these myself. I've reviewed all of them. And up front, I did want to say a couple of things. One, thank you to the folks behind this for sponsoring this. We're also trying out a couple of new things, so bear with me for a sec. They have implemented One Bookshelf, the kind of parent company behind the DM's Guild and DriveThruRPG, has implemented advanced tracking features. One of the biggest frustrating things for someone like me who does content reviews, takes sponsorships, wow, that was hard to say, is the inability to track metrics on how much you were able to help influence a given project or product. And these new implements have really done a lot to make it easier to see just how much traffic comes from you guys clicking on the links in the description. So by the way, I will have these improved tracking links for you to go and pick up the bundle, as well as each individual product if you'd prefer to get one and not the overall bundle. I'll also say that this video is sponsored by the team behind this, but it's a different kind of sponsorship. This one is sort of, I guess we could call it almost affiliate merit based. So the more of you who like the products that are here and go out and pick those up, the more income both the creators will get and I will get as well, as opposed to just a fixed rate. I know that's a little peek behind the curtain and people are always iffy about money stuff, but I thought I should be honest and upfront with you about that. So because there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7 of these modules and products here, I can't go in depth in all of them. We'd be here for 2 hours. And I know I love to talk, and I know I ramble and make long videos, and I know a lot of you love that. It's not good for the metrics. So what I'm going to also preface this is say, I'm going to give you a little bit of what I like of each one of these, and if you have interest in them, sound off in the comments, and what I'll do is if a lot of people are saying, I really like the Amulet at the Watcher's Pool, or I really like Unearthed Spoils, or whatever the case may be, I will make a separate video down the road just talking about that, and we can dive into it a little bit more. All right, so now that we've said that, I'll also throw the whole, hey, look, 90.4. We've continued to drive that number up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. So I'll just go in alphabetical order here. First up is Amulet at the Watcher's Pool. This normally runs itself for about $4.95. The bundle price, you'll cut that almost in half. And as you can see here, it does have 4 5-star ratings on DriveThruRPG, and this is just a really solid adventure, right? It says it's a 4 to 6 hour adventure for tier 1 characters, and it's a full 35-page adventure, and it says it's for 4th level characters, brings your party into the dangerous Spiritlands, a deserted area in Freebone Vale. So this is kind of its own little setting. But I thought I could pull it up and show you. First of all, this is phenomenally done. It not only has bookmarks, but it has very clear annotations where I can click any part of this, and throughout the adventure, as well as the maps as well, are annotated where I can click on them and it will take me to that part of the PDF. And due to the frustration I've had with having this kind of the issues we have about not tagging and annotations and things, that's honestly one of my favorite parts of this particular thing, is the effort put in to make sure that this is as easy as possible for anyone running it to get where they need to go without having to scroll through and type in page numbers. But as I said, this is just a really solid adventure overall. There's a little bit of mystery, there is some puzzle solving and an artifact hunt. But as we can see here, right, the God of Fortune, there's a religious organization that serves all aspects. A while ago, a sect of them broke off and became sort of a group of evil people. Until recently, they never made any moves. A few days ago, the Children of Dusk, which is that group, made their first big move. They attacked Watcher's Pool, a temple dedicated to an aspect of this God of Fortune, and basically spirited away an artifact. And that's what the amulet at Watcher's Pool is, searching for said amulet. And then again, as I said, we can scroll through and you can see there's some really awesome art. There's a bunch of maps as well, and we get to some of the more overarching maps. We can click on, I think, is it this part? Some of these we can click on, and they'll take us actually to the different locations. But again, you can see the annotations. Here we go. So if we want to go to River's Edge Wood, we can click that and it'll take us to that section of the PDF. Next up, we have Cities of Sundara. This is sort of a campaign setting. Again, a 1 5-star review. Reminder that some of these are brand new. Some of these have been out for a little while. For example, Amulet of the Watcher's Pool came out today. Cities of Sundara came out back in March of 2021. But basically, yes, you can see there's also some reviews on here, and there are folks that have done a bunch of products already. This is this new city. We have districts, and let's go ahead and pull it up. It'll be easier if we go take a look through here. So not only do we have a sort of gazetteer of a bunch of informations about the Cities of Sundara, this is, I think it's, I don't know how you pronounce it, mood? I don't know. Anyway, a sort of spooky, kind of gives me undead vibes city. And as such, we have a lot of other mechanics and things added in here, including the return of the taint system. I can't say it without smiling, and just a child, I know, sorry. But we did see this in the original Book of Vile Darkness, or one of the versions of the Book of Vile Darkness, at least that I know from 3.5, where it was essentially like a corruption factor, and this happens to be necromantic taint, and there's an option of basically being just long-term exposed to dark forces and necrotic energy can have a physical impact on your character, a whole system for removing it, as well as a new race here of the half-dead. Again, someone that has succumbed just so much to this taint that their body is basically shifted towards undeath. And then again, a variety of different options and things to allow you different kind of sub-races depending on what undead you kind of have leaned towards, as well as a new, Deathstalker Ranger. A couple of magic items, and then we do have one new spell, and I think that's pretty much it. So let's jump to the next one here. Horror, wow, at Devil's Run. I love this one. First of all, Pumpkin King right on the front. This also just came out today. Bummer that this wasn't a Halloween release, but it is a 2 to 4 hour adventure for 4 to 5 characters, and it is self-contained in Devil's Run, the town. If you've ever seen a kind of Halloween scarecrow, pumpkin head style horror adventure, this is very reminiscent of that in my mind, which means it's automatically right up my alley, because if you didn't know this about me, I love horror movies. It's one of my favorite genres of movies. I actually prefer it over a lot of other things, although I do enjoy action adventures. Maybe we should talk, do a Q&A and talk about movies at some point. Again, you'll recognize a lot of different titles from Jeff Stevens games, right? Madhouse of Tasha's Kiss, I've ran this. This is a very fun Encounters in the Savage Underworld, Adventures from the Potbelly Kobold, which is a book I have over here that I still haven't reviewed, and I do feel bad about that. But basically, yeah, we have 2 warring sort of farmhouses that have competing pumpkin businesses. And, obviously something goes a little funky and we have pumpkin monsters to fight. We have great maps, also great art assets were pulled for this. And then obviously we have stat blocks associated with the new enemies that you'll encounter in this, like our pumpkin monster right here. Several others as well, pumpkin terrors, vine hounds, and so on. Following that, we have Mark of the Wraith, another adventure. This one also just came out basically today. There's also this one. I love the rules in it. The adventure is good as well, but it has a lot of cool concepts about like setting up the adventure, building campaigns, and things of that nature. So it says it starts with essential elements, and I'll have to take a look at those. It says this adventure is set up to allow easy improvisation by the DM. Each element is discrete and easy for you to find. The information you need is not mixed in descriptive prose and game mechanics. It's very clean. It says, I've included alternate encounters. You can run Mark of the Wraith with different groups. The toughest monster is challenge rating 12. The lowest is challenge rating 1/2. And it does actually have, scaling if you want to run it for a variety of different groups. And that's something I think would be fun to run one of these supposed scalable encounters with different tier groups and see how well it is easy to scale up or down. So let's go ahead and take a look at Mark of the Wraith. And I want to show you stuff right at the beginning that I think is very insightful. So, it says it starts with essential elements. These are the things that must exist. You can change these to fit your world or setting. Establishing questions can be used in two ways. If it's intended to be used as a one-shot adventure, you can put the questions to your players and help embed them into the world. If you want to integrate this adventure into your existing setting, the establishing questions will help you weave them into your world rather than just parachuting in with no connection. Talks about improv. Again, we talked about the challenges there. It says where DC tests are mentioned in the text, I've highlighted them in bold for you to easily scan them. Again, if you want to scale them up or down. So here are our essential elements, right? It says, takes place inside a complex cut into a rock face. Is a striking appearance and anyone living nearby would notice it. The adventure requires an innocent person to be in mortal danger. The victim has become marked, a visible tattoo on the palm of their hand, and it must be removed as it's a curse. So here are our establishing questions. Where is the innocent victim in your world? Who is going to act as the quest giver? Where is the artifact's hiding place? Have other people died when they got between the innocent and the creatures? And how did the victim get the mark? Very simple stuff, but this could go a long way for new DMs and adventure writers to realize this is the kind of things that you should be establishing in a session 0 or, right out the gate if you're going to do a one-shot. It also has cause and effect here, like because of this, that happens, which, again, breaks it down very simplistically to have you learn why things are happening in the world and how to go about it from there. And then again, we can see we just roll into the adventure proper. This one also does have bookmarks, and then we can see there also is a variety of monsters here as well. But yeah, it's basically rescue someone in distress, and I should also say that all of the books that we've gone through so far do have bookmarks, which makes me happy. Next up is Rockpocks and Work. This is also a brand new one. Pretty simple concept here. This is just a bunch of diseases, rot, pox, worms, different nasty things to afflict your players with. 29 new diseases. We can go ahead and pull a couple of those to talk about. This one, unfortunately, no bookmarks, so that points off automatically for that. But if we go ahead and scroll down, we can see we have a variety of different diseases. Cackle fever, some of these I recognize. Bubbling pox, celestial melancholia, Claude's lock, frog fever. Let's pull a couple. Let's do, which one sounds good? I think I definitely want to do celestial melancholia because that sounds interesting. So we're going to grab that. And I think we're going to grab frog fever. That'll sound interesting. So keep going. Celestial melancholia. Said to be caused by the exposure to stardust cast down by ancient and malevolent beings amongst the stars. This particular brand of melancholia is a brutal one and an utmost torture for the afflicted. It begins with mere bad dreams. Let's see. Horrific nightmares, visages of deeds beyond beings beyond adequate description. So basically like a eldritch horror. Nightly, they are visited by such sights, which become more and more oppressive with each passing slumber. Eventually, the afflicted being begins to describe horrors not as something from a dream, but something present with them, watching them through their very minds, with this accompanied by other delusions. As this disease progresses, the visions do not stop with sleep, following the victim into their waking hours as well, where they will describe a perpetual paranoia of being watched from afar. Eventually, this mania consumes them and their will to live. It's never quite clear the vector of infection for melancholia is, nor exactly what the infection must be, or when the infection must be exposed for symptoms to manifest. Let's see. These areas can be a single household or entire town, and those must succeed on a DC 15. It says willpower. I'm assuming that's wisdom save or begin experiencing symptoms. An infected humanoid or creature must make a DC 10, again, wisdom save, every time they sleep or take a long rest, or else succumb to the nightmares. If they succumb, they lose. It says 1 willpower. Or maybe that was it's a function at the beginning that I missed. Was there a willpower function? Let's see. Disease will be an interesting part of the party plot moving forward. Yeah, I don't see anything that says willpower in here specifically. So I think that might have just meant to be wisdom, and it just says willpower. Okay. Which they can only be covered by ordinary means after the disease subsides, recovering 1 willpower each day. They persist for 1d6 weeks before suddenly stopping. The disease cannot be removed by ordinary means before the period has lapsed, though spells such as Lesser Restoration and Lay on Hands can end such effects. And lastly, let's go find Frog Fever, because who doesn't love frogs? Okay. So named for the massive swelling in the affected throat glands, and infection spread from person to person by sharing cups, food, and so on. While their actual endurance remains unchanged, the unending feeling of fatigue makes performance in all areas of one's life arduous. The result is something unable to perform even basic tasks. The most troublesome aspect of the fever is not the symptoms, but its term, which can last weeks or more, and the lack of a tried and true means of effective treatment. Infection occurs through contact with bodily fluids of an infected humanoid, DC 16 con save, or they can pass it on. Gnomes and dragonborn are immune. A humanoid so infected always has a minimum of 1 exhaustion for the duration. It persists for a D20 weeks. That's pretty rough. Next up, we have Unearthed Spoils. This is a Surviving the Arctic one here. This, again, is also brand new. I really enjoy this one because it does have a lot of stuff going for it. Unfortunately, one of those things that it does not have is bookmarks. But it does start off with magic item set, which I wanted to make a video, and I might still do that, about the concept of magic item sets, similar to what we see in a lot of MMOs or different adventures where you can get like armor sets, and if you attune to multiple pieces or acquire multiple pieces, it has a sort of improved benefit. There's one in here, as well as unique magic items, a couple of spells, a couple new subclasses, new rules and GM tactics for dealing with cold weather, and then there's also an adventure. I wanted to take a look. Here's the accoutrements of the frigid cold. Right, it says if you possess and are attuned to all 4 items, you get the following benefits. You can't become lost even by magical means when traversing the Arctic, and you can cast Cone of Cold once a day at 5th level with a saving throw of 15. Or your spell CC, whichever's higher. But Snow Harvester is the one I want to talk about, which is the Scythe right here. It does the D10 slashing damage, is heavy, has 2-handed property, gets a +2 bonus to attack and damage rolls, and has 10 charges. When you hit a creature, you can spend up to 3 charges, dealing an extra D10 for each charge spent, and then it just gets a D4 +1 charges back at dawn, and then it has the standard, roll. If you go down to spend the final charge, roll a D20 and just don't roll a 1. So you can see we have a couple other things here. Frozen Holy Water, which I thought was an interesting thing to separate it out. As an action, you can throw this vial up to 20 feet, shattering it on impact, make a ranged attack, treating the Frozen Holy Water as an improvised weapon. If the target is a fiend or undead, it takes 2d6 cold damage and then takes a d6 radiant damage at the start of each of its turn for 2d4 rounds. We can have Miner's Delight, again, a sort of potion drink here, some armor, as well as a couple additional weapons. Several new ice-based spells, which is nice, and then a couple of archetypes here, a barbarian, a new monk, a sorcerer, And I believe that's it. And then again, here we have the rules for traveling and resting in the frigid cold, which is always nice to see additional rules. I think we have something like that in Rime of the Frost Maiden, but it looks like these might be a little more in depth. And lastly, we have Wilderness Encounters and Quests. This is just a series of random encounters. This is also brand new. 22 pages, 6 detailed encounters, 6 battle maps, and 12 versions, gridded and gridless, with 4 new creatures. So we can go ahead over there. This one does also not have bookmarks, which is a bummer. But we can scroll down and you can see a variety of different encounters here that you can use throughout your adventures. I think I'm going to skip to, I think it's page 17, because I saw this art and I had to talk about it. So you can see it's not a lot of information here. To hunt or be hunted. Encounters a 5th to 7th level. It has combat, exploration stuff, and social things. Basically, you're going to make your way into a swamp and encounter a Gillador, which is a sort of dragonoid creature with necrotic energies, which is what you see here in the art. And then here is the Gillador stat block, which has legendary actions and can eat will-o'-the-wisps and things like that, which is a pretty cool monster. And it looks like a crocodile, and crocodiles are also one of my favorite creatures as well. So there you go, folks. That is the Adventure Awaits 2022 bundle. I'm sorry, my work email's been going off like crazy over here. So 2022 Adventure Awaits bundle. As I said, I will have a tracking link specific to me. So if you do decide you're going to pick either one of this whole bundle up or one of these individual things, I would beseech you to use the links in the description below, as again, I will benefit monetarily if you happen to click and purchase it via that link. So a lot of good stuff here. I'd love to hear which ones are your favorites or which ones you're curious about seeing more information on. And again, if enough people ask for a specific part of the bundle, I will do future videos discussing just that. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.